Have you ever stopped to wonder what really connects us? I mean, not just through words or, a shared look, but on some deeper, almost invisible level. Well, today we're diving into the brain's hidden social mirror, this incredible mechanism that basically shapes how we experience the world, together.
I mean, think about it for a second. You see a skateboarder take a nasty fall, or you watch someone get a paper cut, and for just a split second, you feel it. It's like this ghost of that pain. You actually flinch, you wince. It's this automatic, totally universal reaction. But why? Why does that happen? This isn't just about feeling sorry for someone. This is a really profound biological question. There's something deep inside your skull that's bridging the gap between you and that other person, turning their experience into something your brain can almost taste. And to figure it out, we've got to go back to a completely accidental discovery.
So our story starts in a pretty unexpected place, a lab in Parma, Italy, in the 1990s. And the scientists there weren't looking for empathy or social connection. Nope, they were just studying monkeys and trying to understand how the brain controls simple actions. But what they stumbled upon was, well, it was something else entirely.
The big eureka moment was a total accident. Picture this. The researchers have an electrode in a monkey's brain, and it's hooked up to a neuron that fires every time the monkey grabs a peanut. Simple enough. But then, one day, a researcher just casually grabs a peanut while the monkey is just watching, and bam! The exact same neuron fired. The monkey's brain reacted as if it was the one grabbing the peanut just from seeing it happen. It was incredible. They had just discovered what they would call mirror neurons.
Let's just pause and think about what this means. A mirror neuron is this special kind of brain cell that literally doesn't care if you're doing the action or just seeing the action. It completely collapses the distance between self and other, creating this shared neural space. This discovery basically told us that watching something isn't passive at all.
And that right there is the key insight from that whole discovery. When you watch somebody kick a soccer ball or pick up a cup of coffee, your brain isn't just processing pixels like a camera. It's doing something much, much more active, way more involved. It simulates it. Your own motor system internally rehearses the action you're watching. Your brain, in a sense, is trying on the other person's actions for size. And this internal simulation, well, that's what lets us understand what other people are doing so quickly and so intuitively. So, after this discovery, you can just imagine the excitement in the neuroscience community. It was absolutely immense. People started wondering, have we just found the biological root of our entire social world? Researchers started to think that maybe, just maybe, these neurons were the key to, well, everything that makes us human. The big idea was that mirror neurons were a kind of social master key. They could explain how we learn by imitation, everything from a baby copying a parent's smile, all the way back to our ancestors learning how to use tools. They might even be the reason we can understand what other people intend to do, and most profoundly, how we feel empathy by literally simulating their feelings in our own brains. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It really captures the power of this idea. The suggestion was that on a really fundamental neural level, the boundary between you and me, it's kind of blurry. We are literally built to reflect each other's experiences. And listen, this wasn't just some far-out theory. While it's obviously really hard to study single neurons in humans, researchers found some really strong evidence. Brain scans showed this specific brainwave pattern. It's called mu suppression, that pops up in the motor parts of the brain when people either do an action or just watch someone else do it. It was clear proof of a mirroring system at work inside our own heads. But as it so often happens in science, the initial hype started to cool down a bit. It gave way to a much more complex, much more critical debate. And this idea of a single empathy neuron, well, it started to show some cracks. So the core of the debate really boils down to this. Were mirror neurons the direct cause of all our social understanding, or were they just one small step in a much bigger process? Critics started to argue that maybe these neurons only care about the goal of an action, the what, not the why, and that maybe their role had been, a little overstated in all that initial excitement. This whole debate got especially intense when it came to autism. Some scientists proposed a broken mirror theory, suggesting that a problem with this system could explain the social challenges we see in autism spectrum conditions. But a lot of researchers now feel that's a huge oversimplification. I mean, social cognition is just way too complex to be explained by one single broken part.
So this left scientists wrestling with some really big questions. When that neuron fires, is it mirroring the physical movement itself or just the end goal? Is empathy this direct gut-level simulation, or is it a more complicated thinking process? It's a classic chicken and egg problem. Are these neurons the cause of our social skills, or are they just one piece of a much, much larger puzzle?
So where does that leave us today? Well, after years and years of debate, the scientific community has kind of settled into a more balanced, a more nuanced understanding, one that really respects both the power and the limits of this mirror system.
All right, so the modern consensus is this. No, these aren't some magical mind-reading cells. The idea that one single type of neuron holds the key to empathy or language, it was probably just too simple. The brain is rarely ever that neat and tidy. But, and this is a big but, that does not diminish their importance one bit. They're still a absolutely fundamental part of the system. They're the basic wiring that grounds our understanding of other people and our own body's experience. They are part of what makes our brains social by default. And when you think about it, this has huge evolutionary implications. This neural blueprint for imitation likely played a massive role in what scientists call the cultural ratchet. That's the process where skills, like how to make a better tool, can be passed down and improved on, generation after generation. This ability to learn just by watching supercharged our ability to cooperate and help put human culture on the fast track. And all of this leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. The science shows our brains are literally built to mirror each other, to connect, to share experiences automatically. So the real question isn't if we're connected, but how we choose to use that built-in connection. If your brain is hardwired to simulate my experience, does that create a kind of deeper responsibility for the actions we model for each other every single day? Something to think about.